Hey, welcome everybody. This is Dan Powers at Champion Solutions Group. So, we're going to do a quick overview of the upcoming new release of the Bigfix Girder for ServiceNow. Again, a certified app inside the ServiceNow store that provides bidirectional capabilities between ServiceNow and Bigfix. So, a couple things I just want to point out. There's a lot of new features, but again, this is just a quick preview. I wanted to point out because people had always asked this question, and right up here, if you can see, we have some devices managed, 4,921. If I click into this, we can see that we're getting all of the data. The source is Ebrige, so all of this information is coming from Bigfix itself. By default, we're grabbing the items that any Bigfix environment would have, whether you have lifecycle, patch management, whatever it is, the base core properties. If you do have other modules, we will pull in those other analysis. And actually, if you only have patch, you can actually even download some of our analysis to get further information such as warranty or serial number and so forth. But again, I just wanted to show you that we're getting all of this information, that 4,000 dollar number there, or if you will, the count number, that was directly from eBridge itself, not having to deal with discovery from ServiceNow. However, in this dev environment, we do have discovery turned on. And if we notice, we have these devices unmanaged. In this case, for you Big Fix folks, this is not Big Fix's unmanaged devices at this point. What this is actually devices found in the CMDB that don't have the Big Fix. So what I had done and what I want to point out is if I click on these devices, it was discovery running on a smaller subset. You notice the look and feel of this is the same, whether it's ServiceNow's discovery populating your CMDB or it's actually BigFix. So the source here is just the basic discovery. It's not actually coming from the BigFix side of the house. This is cool in a couple ways. A, it shows you that we're able to expand your discovery process, whether you have purchased ServiceNow Discovery or not, or if you have ServiceNow Discovery. In a lot of cases, you're only mapping out the core environment, but plugging into BigFix, obviously, we can pick up all those pesky laptops, devices, Roman devices, and actually populate your CMDB at a much cheaper cost. From a BigFix perspective, again, if this is your endpoint manager tool of choice, we're clearly showing you here, hey, we found some devices on your network and BigFix isn't installed on it. Maybe we need to right click and do one of our automated tasks to go install Bigfix. So that's kind of cool. So I just wanted to point that out real quick. The other one is folks had asked us, and if you notice here, we have this idea where we're looking at some open actions that have not yet completed in the Bigfix environment. And we can compare some of these things that are running with open actions inside of Bigfix right now. A couple cool things on here is we can do this by status or we can even do it by action itself. If I came in here and drilled into, for an example, we're doing some Windows 10 upgrades and I drill into this, I can actually see the action and I can see all the different machines it's running on, whether it completed or not, what the status of it is if I do a preview of the record. So if, for example, this guy's waiting for the restart to complete, I actually have this information inside of ServiceNow, which again is really cool for two reasons. One is I can check at any given point if any actions happen to an endpoint. If someone calls in with some type of issue, I notice, oh, by the way, I just noticed you were patched or you got the new Java pushed to you. Or in this case, we migrated you from one version of Windows 7 to Windows 10 or from one version of Windows 10 to the next version. So it's kind of powerful there. The other reason I kind of wanted to drill into this for a few other reasons is because a lot of our folks had asked in the big fix world, right, is you're trying to keep, as everybody will tell you, your action statuses kind of cleaned up in your big fix environment. So if you're a very big, large big fix environment and you have, thousands of open actions, best practices tell you to clean these up. It helps the console run faster. But at the end of the day, some of our clients had asked, said, hey, can you do this audit trail of these actions so that I can keep the big fix environment clean? But in ServiceNow, can I go back and look up actions that have happened a long, long time ago? And the answer to that question actually at this point is yes. We're actually pulling those actions. We're not deleting them. So that at any given point, you can come back into ServiceNow side of the house, hit actions, and we're going to notice here we have a lot more of actions that are here versus that are actually within my console here. So ServiceNow integration, we will not delete the actions. If you delete them out of the Bigfix side, you'll still be able to come inside of ServiceNow. You can click on any one of these. You can understand when it was kicked off, who kicked it off, what were the devices, and what were the results. So we get to keep that audit trail, which is actually really cool if you think about it in a lot of senses. Another cool thing is, just FYI, if you have the proper rights, and even if you targeted multiple machines, I could actually come up here, and again, it's only admins can do this, but I could actually rerun this entire action. It's not just kicking off this task or fixlet, it's actually this entire action with all your settings. I'm actually going to click it. We'll watch this go. It's actually talking to the mid server, and it's executing right now, as we can see, and it will automatically start keeping track of that action. But if I go back here into Bigfix, and let's just see, and here we go. We see, boom, there it is. Ebrige communication test. It'll actually rerun this action. I'm going to actually stop it, but this is cool. And again, if you think about it, if you ever kicked off an action, you set up all your targeting parameters, and maybe you targeted, hundreds of boxes, in this example, and you were like, oh, geez, I need to maybe redo that action again. From in here, this will probably be a better example because I think I targeted more systems. I could actually, I'm going to do the same thing again, click off this action, let it run. It's going to kick off it into the ECC queue. It's going to call over to the mid server and over to the REST API to fire into Bigfix. And if I stay on this page, I'll actually get import the data back. But I actually want to show it here from the Bigfix side because I think this is a little more interesting. So notice this. Look at all of these machines that it automatically retargeted with all the settings of the original action. So again, I'm going to stop this because that was going to try to upgrade Windows 10 machines. I don't want to do that in my semi-production environment here. But I did want to show you how this fires. And a very cool thing here is we can see where it's issued by. So it's actually issued by Ebrige. So we are tracking, an operator in the Bigfix console, or if this is some type of automation that comes into, play many, many times to understand who's exactly doing something. So a couple other things real quick. The last thing I'll probably show you here, again, a lot of cool features that are coming out in the new version, but one of them was how can we do some automation that's much easier instead of having to update config files. So let me kind of go show you. I'm going to go back to the dashboard here in Bigfix, and I'm just going to go to one of these other tabs up here, and you can execute this in many ways. I just did it here from a dashboard perspective, just so I can draw it out when I do the demos. But obviously, some of this would be in a software catalog, or it could be actually the button does exist on the machines if you have rights to do it. So we have these two ideas. These things look very, very similar. I'm going to cover this one over here first. And this was an ask by one of our clients who also had like the Q radar, and they had offenses coming into Q radar, into ServiceNow. And they wanted their level one admin to be able to take some steps. Could have been to log off a user, could have been to stop the process, it could have been to quarantine a box. Basically, anything that you can write in Bigfix that'll work. And we made it really simple. Notice we simply ask you from the Bigfix side is to create a site called ebrige::automation, and whatever fixlets you put into here and whatever devices are subscribed to this site will automatically get populated into this toolkit, into this widget. So here I have it showed up as the dashboard, which is cool. But again, from this perspective, it might be linked to an offense that happened into the Sec1 guy monitoring an issue. And maybe he sees a runaway process and wants to stop it. So if you notice, I can come into here, and since I am admin, I can actually select any of the boxes. I'm just randomly going to pick one. And I'm going to say, actually, let's do something easy, communication test, just because that really doesn't do anything. Again, since it's a semi production environment. And we notice ServiceNow has created one of the queues. He pushed it out, and we could monitor this, and that action will actually now be part of that device, just like I showed you before, that history tracking. But if I come back up to Bigfix here, and I come back to my actions, we should see that we have that new task. There it is, Ebrige communication. kicked off, that all it does is do a ping test to the box, so it's really not going to hurt anything. So I'll let that one keep running. But site is Ebrige automation issued by Ebrige. I know this came out of the automation side of the house, so I really can start tracking what's going on in the Bigfix console. But the other thing I want you to realize, obviously, this is hosted in ServiceNow, obviously cloud app. This Bigfix instance is actually hosted in our Azure cloud uh, application as well. It's up in Azure. So we have cloud to cloud talking, and you can see how quickly these actions fire off back and forth and get updated, which is actually really, really cool. So the other thing we thought, well, this makes it easy because you can have anything in the automation side automatically show up. The same concept works if you create a site called eBridge software. So again, if you already have hundreds of software packages in your environment, all you need to do is create a site called eBridge software. Excuse me. Copy these software packages into that site, and you're going to notice they show up here. Now, normally what would happen in a self-service, I would own, as me, Dan Powers, might own my Surface Pro and a laptop and maybe a phone. Again, I'm logged in as admin at the moment, so I can target anybody because my rights allow me to. But what would actually happen is if this is in a catalog, self-support user catalog, obviously you're only allowed to request software for you. And if I deploy, for example, Firefox or something that's, doesn't cost anything, maybe the workflow is simply, yep, approve it, let's track it, kick it off, and I can just click the submit button. It'll fire the task off into Bigfix to actually deploy the software. If I click something, and I can click multiple of them as well, maybe if I click something that costs money, this could actually run your normal workflows behind the scenes. Maybe I need manager approval, right? Because this is going to cost my department, $500, whatever the issue is. So that was another cool feature we added in there for customer asks, was to create these self-service type of portals. Again, in my dashboard view, this is just kind of a little quick dashboard of this, but the mechanism is there, so you could put this software in your self-service catalog. And from this automation standpoint, which we're kind of calling that quick hit automation, you could allow certain level users to be able to run tasks that they have no rights to actually do inside Bigfix, but run it from ServiceNow, and you can control how they do that, just simply by creating and putting that information into these two sites. So we made it much, much simpler to actually get value as soon as you get the mid server and ServiceNow eBridge girder up and running in your environment. So it's very, very cool. I guess one of the last things I could show you, just because this was another big customer ask, and again, if you're wondering about patch management, automatically counting CVEs, all this stuff, check out some of our other videos. But one of the last things I did want to show you, and this came out because we had some performance issues at one of our customers. So we wanted to go back. Oh, since it's in the middle of the night, I'm making this. Let's go back to all. So if you notice here, this might be a little harder to see. Maybe I'll zoom in when I edit the video. This is eBridge working in its normal fashion when you do the setup, depending on the size of your Bigfix environment. As you noticed, I currently am hitting a Bigfix environment that has about 4,000 something endpoints. We stress tested this up to about 18,000 endpoints. In this environment, I'm pulling properties, and by default, we have it as you can run certain things once a week, you can run certain things once a day, once an hour, daily. But if you notice on a lot of this, we're actually getting this in seconds. So it's asynchronous. We do a quick big load of your environment. If you're anywhere under 10,000 endpoints, it's going to take us approximately 30 minutes on the first load to get your data into the CMDB. And then from there, updates can be controlled by you. But we added this whole performance logs counter so that you can actually come in here over time and understand what is taking time or what could be taking too much time. So, for an example, if I can actually search in here and find the um, Big Fix, I think it's all computers, if I'm not mistaken, starts with Big Fix all. Let's see if we find something. So we're getting closer. Big Fix all computer groups. Those are actually pretty quick. I only have a few hundred of those. I'm looking for all Big Fix data. Let me pause the video while I go search. Okay, I on pause. It just took me a little bit because I couldn't remember what I called this. The Big Fix full load hourly. So this is loading, again, in this case, about 5,000 endpoints, doing a complete refresh of the endpoint data into the CMDB. And in this case, it takes about 17 minutes to load. So again, not bad. So again, for most people updating their CMDB, this is actually really fast, and we're running this every hour and doing a complete refresh of all computers. Now, again, the bigger your environment, we would grab the basic data and then some other things we would fill in later. But so far for our customers, we're able to keep their information up to date in a daily fashion. So, again, not weeks, not months. We're keeping the information synced up in a daily fashion, so which is pretty cool. So again, this is Dan Powers at Champion, just giving you a couple sneak peeks at some cool features that I thought were cool inside of Bigfix here. And we can't wait for you this release to come out shortly. And if you have any questions or want to see a demo of other things, please let me know. We'd love to do that for you. Thank you, folks.